Hey guys, so today I'm gonna be replacing my Chevy bow tie with some lettering. Alright, so the things I'm gonna be using is some water with soap, some WD-40, microfiber towel, some fishing line that you might not be able to see, and of course the letters. I actually painted my letters matte black because they were shiny and I wanted them matte black, but you don't have to do that. These are actually the 5th gen Camaro letterings that go on the side of your fender, like right there. But this is the 5th gen. I actually had to repaint my A letter because I messed up, but that's not important. Another thing I forgot to mention that you're going to need is a tape measure, a ruler, whatever it may be to measure, because you want the letters centered on your car wherever you're going to put them. And also, just to mention, you don't need to do WD-40. It could be a degreaser, glue gun, whatever. That's going to be to take off the double-sided tape on the bow tie that's already on the car. So what you want to do is take your fishing line, wrap it around your fingers, and move it behind the Chevy badge and just start rocking back and forth until the whole badge is off. Alright, so this actually got pretty hard to pull on, so I'm going to be putting on some gloves to help me out so it doesn't hurt and I can pull harder. Alright guys, I finally went through the whole badge with the fishing line. The fishing line actually broke a couple of times, so make sure you have extra handy nearby. And I also found it easy that once you get pretty much across this wing and across this wing, maybe wiggle it a little, and then the middle is easier to get off. But then you just want to get it off like that. And as you can see, there's still some double-sided tape on the car, and we're going to get that out. And this is the badge. You can now put this wherever you want. Somewhere else on your car, maybe on a toolbox, wherever you want. Alright guys, so what you're going to want to do is peel this excess double-sided tape off of your car, and this is going to be the really long and tedious part. Alright guys, so I found that the fastest way to take this off is just to inch it towards you very slowly with your fingernail. And as you can see, I got that corner right there because the WD-40 is not really working that well. I don't know if you're supposed to let it soak there, but like I said, it's not working. So I'm just slowly peeling it from this corner right here. Yeah, it was very tedious, but just hang in there and you'll get it done. And that's what it looks like without the bow tie in the back, which doesn't look half bad, but it was way too much work just to leave it like that. So let's get the letters on. And now we just want to get our soap and our water and our spray and spray it all down and scrub our car. Make sure it gets nice and clean. Alright guys, so another thing I forgot to mention is you're going to need some scotch tape for the placement and a tape measure, and I'm going to be using this loose one. It's a 100-foot tape measure. You can use a ruler, you can use a smaller tape of 25 foot, whatever you have really. And I'm going to be using from the 1 foot to the 2 feet because it's a better reading from the 1 foot than from, let's say, the point. And also you can either do like, it doesn't really matter where you do it as long as it's one of these defined measurements. Alright guys, so what I did here was I measured, and if you don't know how to measure, then either learn how to measure or eyeball it. But from the tail light, and I'm gonna put my letters in the very middle of the tail light until the end of the trunk lid, because if you do it from the top of the lid to the bottom of the lid, it's just gonna look off center. It's gonna look like about right here, and with this right here, it's just not gonna look in the middle. So you need the middle of this. So this is 5 inches and 1/8. So half of that is going to be around 2 inches and 9/16. And what I did is like this very corner of the tape is 2 inches and 9/16 down here. And so is this little corner of this tape and this little corner of this tape. And right now what I'm going to do is put a tape across it and make sure the tape is very straight and it crosses these 3 points. Alright guys, and this is what your tape will look like. It's looking pretty straight to me. It's as you can see in the end here, it's a little down, and up here it's a little up. I actually measured it I checked it by measuring from the bottom of the lid up here, and it has about 1 1/8 right here in the middle where I measured it in the tail light in these 3 areas. But off in the end, this went a little up and this went a little down, which is fine. It's not, I'm gonna be trying to get the letters right here in the middle anyways. I'm not gonna put one right here, and either way the difference is only about a 1/16, which nobody will really notice with your eyes. So alright, so the next step is to measure your letters, and as you can see, your letters are, well, my letters are about 9/16, and half of that would be about 4.5/16, and that's what we're gonna measure on our tape, because we want our letters to be half on the tape and half on the tape, half on the tape and half on the paint, because this is half of the trunk lid. And for our letters to be half of the way there, it'd have to be around there. So now we're just gonna measure, we're gonna do the same process we did here, and I'm just gonna measure 4.5/16 up, 4.5/16 up, and put the tape across. And there you go, guys. This tape is now taped up about 4.5/16 up right here, which is about 9/38, I believe. So now we can remove this tape and line our letters up to this tape right here, and it should be right in the middle. Now I just have to figure out the spacing and the middle right here of the trunk so I can even it out. Alright guys, so the good thing about painter's tape is that you can write on it, and this is actually Sharpie, but it won't bleed through. But as you can see, I measured from this end of the lid to this end of the lid, and it was 2 feet and 5/8, and half of that is 1 foot and 5/16. So that's the center right there, and it should line up pretty good with that trim, that cut on your trim. If, as you can see, I'm trying to get the shadow on it, and this, the middle of your mark, when you mark the middle of your tape, that should line up right with that line. So what I'm gonna do now is measure. I want 1 inch in between my letters. I want 2 inches in between each of my letters, and obviously I'm gonna measure that, set them, and see how they look before I actually remove the double-sided tape thing. So what I'm gonna do is measure 1 inch this way, 1 inch that way, and then each of these letters is actually a different width. They're all the same height, but they're different widths. So I'm just gonna have to like measure 2 inches, place the letter, and measure from the end of the letter wherever it lands. And that's how I'm gonna measure the even spaces between the letters. So I'm about to do that, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Alright guys, and this is what the final product looks like. I ended up going with a 1.5 spacing between each letter. I was deciding between 2 inches and 1.5 inches, and I will put up pictures to both right now. And I decided to go with smaller spacing in between because I feel like when the letters are more spread out, I don't know, it just doesn't look right from further away. Like, because the middle, this middle part, because of the headlights are so like wide, I feel like this middle part is small, and if you just spread it out over that, it just doesn't look right. And since everything is so small in the back, it just looks better with smaller spacing. What I did was, obviously this is the center, I measured 3/4 this way, 3/4 that way, which is, you know, with 3/4 plus 3/4, that's 1/2, and that's the spacing I want. And then from this point, I put the letter there and marked it, and then from that mark I measured 1.5, placed the letter, marked it there, measured from that mark here 1.5, and that's how I got my spacing. And I did the same thing on this side. Now what we're gonna do is remove the tape on the back of the letters and set them down right here and align it with the tape, and we're gonna be all done. And there you go guys, that is what the final product looks like.